Hello friends, today we will be studying the osteological features of the humerus bone. Now, what we see here are the two humeri, and humerus is a typical long bone having upper end, shaft and lower end. Now let us see the morphological features. Upper end has an articular surface which is about 1/3 of sphere. It has got two tubercles, a larger greater tubercle which lies laterally and a small lesser tubercle which is lying anteriorly. Between the two is a groove, that is the intertubercular groove or the intertubercular sulcus, which has got two lips, a medial lip and a lateral lip. The shaft has got three borders and three surfaces. This here is the medial border. This is the lateral border. These borders are best traced from below upwards, starting from the medial and the lateral supracondylar ridges. When we come up, we trace the medial and the lateral borders. And this border here is the anterior border. The three surfaces, anteromedial surface, anterolateral surface and the posterior surface. The anterolateral surface shows a V-shaped roughened area which is called as a deltoid tuberosity. The posterior surface shows the spirally running groove which is called as the spiral groove. Junction between the head and the shaft is marked by a constriction which is called as the anatomical neck. It lies just outer to the articular area of the head. This anatomical neck also corresponds to the morphological neck in adults, whereas this narrowest part of the shaft is what is called as the surgical neck. The surgical neck is related to the axillary nerve. Then we go on to see the lower end. Lower end has got articular parts and non-articular parts. Articular parts are seen as a pulley-like trochlea which is medially placed and a rounded ball-like capitulum which is laterally placed. The non-articular parts are seen as the two projections or the two epicondyles, the medial epicondyle and the lateral epicondyle, and above both these we see the medial supracondylar ridge and the lateral supracondylar ridge. Just above the trochlea we see a depression which is called as the coronoid fossa, and just above the capitulum we see another depression which is the radial fossa. Similarly, posteriorly, just above the trochlea we see a large depression which is called as the olecranon fossa. These were all the morphological features, and keeping that in mind we can identify which side this bone belongs to. The head of the humerus is directed upwards, backwards and medially. That itself tells us that this humerus belongs to the right side. Plus, taking all the dimensions into consideration, head superior, the trochlea and capitulum inferior, head again directed medially, greater tubercle laterally, lesser tubercle anteriorly and the radial groove posteriorly. Keeping all these in mind, we can identify that this humerus belongs to the right side. Now let us see the muscle attachments on this bone. The greater tubercle shows three facets, upper, middle and posterior, giving attachment to three muscles, supraspinatus, infraspinatus and teres minor. Remember it as SIT, S-I-T, sit. The Lesser tubercle gives attachment to subscapularis. The medial lip of the intertubercular sulcus gives attachment to the teres major, while the lateral lip gives attachment to pectoralis major, and between the two, in the groove, is attachment of the latissimus dorsi. Then we go on to the shaft. The anteromedial surface at the middle of the humerus gives attachment to coracobrachialis. Exactly opposite this same area on the anterolateral surface, this V-shaped deltoid tuberosity gives attachment to deltoid. The remaining lower part of both the anteromedial and anterolateral surfaces gives attachment to brachialis. Now we go on to the supracondylar ridges. The medial supracondylar ridge gives attachment near the epicondyle to the common flexor origin and just above it to pronator teres. The lateral supracondylar ridge near the epicondyle gives attachment to the common extensor origin, above that to the extensor carpi radialis longus, and more superior to brachioradialis. The posterior surface, the area just above the spiral groove, gives attachment to the lateral head of triceps brachii, and below the spiral groove, the entire area gives attachment to the medial head of triceps brachii. The spiral groove is where the radial nerve is related. Lower down, posterior aspect of the medial epicondyle is related to the ulnar nerve, while posterior aspect of the lateral epicondyle gives attachment to the anconeus. These were the attachments of the humerus. Now we go on to see the joints formed by this bone. The upper end forms the shoulder joint with the glenoid cavity of the scapula, and that is a simple ball and socket type of synovial joint. The lower end contributes to formation of the elbow joint, which has got two components, the humero-radial component and the humero-ulnar component. The elbow joint is a compound modified hinge type of a synovial joint. These were the two joints formed by the bone. Thus, we have studied the morphological features, side identification, attachments, and the joints formed by the humerus. Thank you.